We're gonna have a Kickturn party tonight. All right.
So the art was always very intriguing to me, and I'm wondering what your take is on art in the skate community, because clearly you all had some like striking graphics that influenced me and changed my life. So what, how did you hook up with Schroeder, and what do you think? What was behind that move to put these graphics out that just like were in your face?
Well, okay, let's go back to when I rode for Castor, right?
Yeah.
This is the summer of 1979. I got flown out there. I'm going to skate the Del Mar Hester Pro-Am. First time the Hester Series had a Pro-Am. So I'm out there skating that contest. And Schroeder was working there. I believe he was working there. It was either 79. I'm pretty sure it was 79. He was working in the pro shop. So we started skating, we skated together and everything. And then the next summer, go out there, he was there again. He would like go down to Del Mar and work for the summers, is what I presume. But we always hooked up and kind of just, go skate the back pools at Del Mar. Nice. And then when one summer I was going out there, that's when everything died. Everything was dead. Castor wasn't going to find me out there anymore. It was like nothing. And then so that's when Jeff Newton wanted me to ride for Zorlac again. Again, I say. So I've already ridden for him once. And and he had to come up with some graphics, right?
Yeah.
And so I go, I want anything with the cow skull. So he came up with the pre-Pushead graphics. Y'all know what ones those are? It's like on the front, the ones like on that board on the cover of that magazine.
Right.
Those graphics, right? And so we had those. Jeff, I don't know how he found that. Computers were still very, very, they were almost non-existent, but he found some clip art and he like took it on there. I liked them because it was like Black Sabbath and stuff, man. It's cool. And then he always didn't like them and everything. And then boom, man, I guess Schroeder saw Pushead saw that board coming out, and he just happened to draw his rendition of that, what was on there, and sent it to Jeff. And Jeff looked at it and freaked out and goes, yes, this is it. He sent it down to me down in Houston. And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it. And we put it out right then. That's pretty much how it happened, because he just knew me from skating. He saw my board and he was already like an underground punk artist, doing flyers and album covers.
Yeah.
And he did mine and we just ran with it. But then Newton kind of took it to the next step, made it the Zorlac brand pretty much,
Yeah. Right.
So that's how it all started. Kind of.
And that was another thing I was going to ask you about.
Yeah.
So
the punk scene.
Yeah, the punk scene, the big boys. I guess you knew those guys, and Biscuit and all those.
Yeah. That was so cool. They were like the first band that we knew of that skated and everything. And we were all getting into punk and stuff. And when that happened, the big boys, it was just so out of this world, man. It was just great. They were friendly. They had to fight people on stage. It was like party music, and they skated, and we just had our own scene, man. They would just circle the state playing, and we would follow. We'd follow all the big boys playing in Dallas. We'd go skate in Dallas, go see the big boys. So, they're playing in Austin. We did that for years, man. It was great. It was all thing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, Thrasher caught up to it, man. They knew it was a cool thing going on, because we would just do it. We had our own music, our own scene, pretty much like everything else that was going on the East Coast too, but everybody was contained. We didn't have the internet, everything's by letter. Or
which gotta go on a road trip.
Yeah,
exactly.
There was a California scene, there was a Texas scene, there was kind of the East Coast scene, all these different little scenes going on, and they all interacted a little bit. I know you guys had Shut Up and Skate. We had the Mess series. There was stuff going on in California.
Yeah.
I'll interject something here. Knoxville got really lucky and had this massive punk scene, and it was because the punk bands, Nashville was jealous because they would go from New York to Florida, and they didn't want to go west to Nashville, so they would stop in Knoxville and play.
Yeah.
So,
We had a bunch of really good punk bands
Yeah.
playing.
Yeah, we had everybody came through the Circle Jerks, the Minutemen, Dead Kennedys,
Yeah,
the
you know,
Fat
Black
Flag,
Flag,
Flag.
Induction.
Black Flag
You
playing
know.
the strip. Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
yeah. Knoxville is,
The
they
faction. The
it was
faction.
Austin,
Yeah.
college town, because like Texas here, we got all the big cities. Even though Austin's the capital, it was still small back then,
Yeah.
Everybody went to college there. That's where all the colleges were. Kind of like Knoxville, right?
Yeah.
College town.
Right.
Total college town. Yeah.
Yeah. Those were thriving in the punk scenes back then. So is Knoxville turned into like Austin now, you think?
Not quite.
It's trying to turn into
It's
somewhere
always
between
tried.
Asheville, North Carolina, and Nashville, Tennessee. Like
Yeah.
it wants a little bit of both, but right now, I mean, the identity is college sports. Is their
Okay.
So
Yeah, but our downtown is thriving, but now it's it's full of all the people you don't want to be there.
yeah, it was cool back in the like 10 years ago, and now
Yeah. It's like Austin here, man. Now it's like every movie star's moved there. It's like crazy,
Yeah.
man. It's like
So,
it's really sad, kind of.
yeah, exactly. So, John, I wanted to ask you about this board.
Yeah.
I bought this not too long ago. I know there's only a few of them made, and this
Yeah.
was your Hall of Fame model. So, I really like this shape.
It's pretty rad.
So tell me how this came about. And I know this was you got in the Hall of Fame on this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what was it like, the whole Hall of Fame
Yeah.
thing?
I started riding for Castor in 1978.
Right.
And Chris
Wow.
Strope flies me out to California and Castor and Tom away. And then they fly me out there and I get, like red carpet treatment. Start skating with all my heroes, Shogo Kubo and
Right.
Yeah.
Ray Bones. We go surfing, me and Ray Bones, we go paddle out. And
Nice.
so it was nice, right? So I did good contests and everything, making a mark. And then I was ready to turn pro. Got to turn pro. And so one night, Wally and I went to the Castor factory and we were like went in there late at night. We're cutting out some boards and I cut out one close to that shape, about that shape.
Right.
And he spray painted the Gibson logo on there.
And
Like,
this is kind
from
of
the
the Wally had the winger,
Yeah.
the stinger shape, and
exactly. Because that's what I rode on Castor. Stroper
Right.
wanted me to ride his board and I tried, but it was a big pig, I
yeah,
couldn't
it was a lot fatter than this one.
on it. So I rode the Inaway and it fucking clicked. It was like, it worked.
Right.
So that's why I kind of took his shape and I moved the little wingers, the stingers right there towards the tail, kind of
Right.
like an Andretti, because Andretti was he was one of my, heroes back then skating.
Yeah, absolutely. Mine as well.
Yeah, and so did that and see where the kind of the colors are on the bottom. Those were routed out. Wally routed those out like a 1 ply of the 7 ply land.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I got this board and I was like, oh, I thought it was going to be routed. I got it and it was like so screen. I was like, well, that's too
Because that's the pictures of me riding that prototype back
Right.
then. Yeah, and
I
so
remember seeing some of those pictures in like Skateboard magazine, right?
I don't know if they're in Skateboarding. I think they were in Action Now. And a matter of fact,
Action now, fell. Yeah.
black and white. I got some personal ones that I got. Well, the one from the magazine, I think it was at Whittier. You can see
Okay.
it, but it's a black and white photo. Yeah, because I don't know. I have to go back and look.
Right,
But,
right.
But anyway, so that board's about to come out in 1982, right? Going into around then, and that's when the skating the whole industry dropped. You just
Yeah.
can't. I was no longer going or anything, so that never happened. That board, only the prototype existed.
Yeah.
So then I went and rode for Newton, and look what I did. Because we put my board out in such a hurry, and they made it like a copy of a Chris Stropel board, a big pig.
Right.
Riding the Stinger. That's why the pig, he had to rush that board out, and I was riding that pig for a while, and then that's when I did an extreme version of that shape on my Zorlac, new shape 85 thing,
Right.
Yeah.
with the big cuts in it. So that's kind of how that got to going. Then fast forward all these years, I did my whole thing through the 80s into the 90s with Alva and everything. And then here comes the Skateboard Hall of Fame, been nominated for, I don't know, 5-6 years already. And then turns out I get in and Chris Stropel gets in at the same time. So we're both in on the same year, but COVID hits, man. So that was a bummer. But since then, since we both got in, Stropel and I, we connected again, I went out there for the Hall of Fame. I even went out there just for a weekend, and hung out with him and stuff. And we got to talking. And then next thing I know, he's making boards. Yeah, this is the board that would have been on Caster, and he got Watson to make them. Watson was the in-house wood guy.
Okay, cool.
Back in the day, he only made boards exclusive, but now he makes them for other people. So he made them, hand painted and everything, and it's like cool, something that never happened. It happened. So
yeah,
really proud.
I'm stoked to have this, and I like the logo, the anniversary of the Hall of Fame logo. This is a really rad board, man. I'm actually, I cut my own boards. I order blanks, and then I cut my own boards, and I think I'm going to cut one this shape.
The graphics on that, Christian Cooper did the graphics, with the, but I wanted a little piece of everything. The Gibson and Stropel put the caster. See the red caster on there? That was the skateboard logo. And they had another logo for surfboards, and they never mixed those up. So the red went on everything.
Yeah.
And so he put the Gibson on there, like the guitar. That's how Wally did it. So making it kind of mine. And then the roses are up there for the Alva boards, the roses for that. Goals about for the Zorlac era, So
I wrote a couple of casters back in the day. They were damn good boards.
Oh yeah, they were the best, man. Everybody loved Texas was a big caster country back then. Everyone was riding casters.
Let's talk a little bit about the Alva years. So after Zorlac, I know that I guess Newton kind of bailed on the whole thing or something, because it seemed like everybody on Zorlac all of a sudden was on Alva.
Yeah, it was just a sad thing because we want to see Zorlac go all the way. We were on top back then. We were there. Everybody wanted the Zorlac board. Everybody loved the Pushead graphics. I mean, Metallica's coming up into stardom, and they're like, pushing it. And there was still only like 3 board companies back then. Who made the GNSs, the Sims and all that. Zorlac was always on the bottom. They could never fill our orders. And that's what got Jeff into trouble, I think, because everybody's wanting boards, and the only boards he's been able to get made weren't the ones that everybody wanted. And then it just went full circle and kind of drug him down. It exploded so fast, got so big, and he couldn't get the product made. So
right.
And couldn't get any of the board shops to prioritize.
Yeah, the wood people is be like, we're on the bottom, and they make the first of the month come around, there goes GNS, there goes Sims, there goes Santa Cruz, and then they get some Zorlacs out, then they start over again, go back to GNS. It's like we're always left out. But I think it might have been done by design because of what they call them, the powerful 5 or the so-called 5.
Right. Especially back then, there was the leaders of the industry, and it was like you didn't mess with those guys.
Yeah,
they were the guys that were making the product, making the bank, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're making, here comes another force, into the market.
And especially an underground force like Zorlac, because those guys were all mainstream and they were from Cali, and you didn't see anything outside that zone. Pretty much.
We came out of the fucking underground, the birth of that's where skating went. Everybody said it was dead. We were just like, yeah, right, we're back from the grave. We're coming in.
But like I said, I remember everybody moving to Alva, and that being, it's like that really famous picture of all you guys in New York, all wearing leather jackets and everything.
The daggers.
Like, and I remember looking at that and going, oh, I know at least 6 of those guys,
we're
and Danforth and, you guys. And that was a rad time. The whole album.
Yeah. So
And I've talked to a couple of I've talked to a couple of you guys that were on Alva, and everyone has said that Australia trip was probably the craziest one.
yes, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, the one where, because I went there twice. Once with just Craig and Danforth in '87, and then we went back with everybody from the Alva Team. Everybody but Danforth and Craig, because I think they got banned from because of shit that happened.
Yeah, I need
That was like the first trip we've ever really been on with Danforth that time, you know, because he's one of the reasons why we went to Alva, is because Danforth was already riding for him. And
Right.
Who else? Freddie started riding for him. And see,
Yeah.
Freddie was for us, for Zorlac first. And then he's like, forget this. He could see what was going on. And he jumped to Alva. We're like, oh, this is pretty cool, man, you know? And first we heard Zorlac was going to get sold to Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz was going to bring him under the NHA. And I thought that was going to be killed, man, because I love being at Northern Cal up there.
right.
And I stuck around on Zorlac a little bit longer. That was going to happen. It didn't happen, and that's when I jumped. I took Craig with me and wanted to get Murph, and I hope we didn't make him make the wrong decision, but he came too. But everyone fit, and it worked out great. It's like this is it, you know. We were like America's team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know, it was
You weren't the Bones Brigade.
well, this is this is another little rabbit hole I was thinking about going down for a second. You know, the Thrasher versus Trans World, the Bones Brigade versus Alva. You know, there was a whole
it was
during that
was
time.
it was it real or was it just what the magazines were pushing?
It's pretty much what the magazine pushing, but then again, it was real. You know, the magazine just looks at life and what's going on.
Sure.
But it wasn't hatred or anything like that. It's just good nature fun, you know. It's like
wasn't Dwayne Peters spitting on people and
The
stuff.
punk
Well,
rocker,
Now,
the punks versus the rock and rollers.
Dwayne
Yeah.
did do that.
Yeah.
no, there's some incidents that happened, go too far, but no, nothing really bad. Not when I was there, not what I saw. But there's always to fight, and you know, the back and forth, you know, just like North versus South.
Sure, sure.
Back and
East Coast versus West Coast. I mean, I grew up and
yeah,
I was considered an East Coaster, and it was, you know,
yeah,
we,
and
we-
see,
we had a bunch of shit ramps and parks, and you know, you guys got all that really nice stuff out in California, and we can ride it better than you.
It's so funny
Yeah.
because my kid lives in LA now, and he grew up learning to skate in Knoxville, and he was always complaining about it. And now that he's out there, he's like, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I said it made me a better
Yeah.
skater. And he loves to come back and skate the gnarly asphalt and the janky whatever, you know.
yeah, shoot the hill. Go
Yeah,
shoot the
right.
no doubt.
Well, I know the 80s were a pretty wild time. I remember going to a few contests. Virginia Beach, there was a
Yeah.
contest in Virginia Beach was a little bit wild. There was that contest in Dayton, Ohio, where the whole like 3 floors of a motel got trashed. I know Craig was in on that. I saw him running down the hall with a mattress, like knocking people down. It was
Good. No wonder I was sleeping on the floor.
yeah, him and Schroeder, because they're big tall guys. They picked up a mattress.
yeah,
Everybody was hanging out in the halls.
Yeah, he was riding for Dogtown then, wasn't he?
Could be. Yeah.
Yeah,
Schroeder was.
They came in our room, thought they were going to trash our room. You know, they started jumping on the bed, started to break stuff, and we just grabbed him, manhandled him, and threw him out in the hallway. Shut the door.
On to the next room.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy contest.
Yeah.
You know, it was that whole, you know, during the 80s when it was big there for a while, it was a whole rock star thing. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was out of hand. I remember going to a couple of trade shows. There was one we went to where they had the arm wrestling match with Eric Nash and all those guys were going nuts.
Yeah, it's coming back. I
It
remember.
was like everybody was in this big you know, Coliseum room, and they were going at arm wrestling, and Eric
Yeah, that's
beat
right.
everybody. It was
Eric Nash.
it was
Well, I have to bring that one up, man. I see him every once in a while when I go out there.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still skating and ripping hard.
Yeah, you know, they got that scene. When I went to California on Castor, stay with Stropel, it was in Sierra Madre Mountains, basically Pasadena,
Sure.
Arcadia, where Grosso came from,
Right.
and Lucero and Nash. And so I come from that name. I stay at one. My California in me, my part of me is from that area because I've
You went from Pasadena to Pasadena, Texas,
Exactly.
Pasadena, California.
Yeah, and what a culture shock.